Hi, everyone. Today we are going to listen some paranormal Reddit stories. What's the most paranormal thing that ever happened to you?
Before I begin, I've never for as long as I can remember ever wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or anything like that, so it registered as odd to me right away as it was happening. It was between 2 to 4 a.m. I wrote my experience down in a journal that is in storage at the moment, and it was peak Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. I got really into astrology at this time, and don't know if that could be in any way connected, but it definitely made things feel more magical. Anyways, I wake up and just sit up in my bed and look at my TV. My TV volume is always so low that you wouldn't be able to even make out what people are actually saying. It was playing a podcast, and all of a sudden, as if someone is slowly turning audio louder and louder, I heard what can only be best described as an entire choir of angels, instruments, angelic humming vocals, everything. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. I've never been to church. My family is not religious whatsoever. I got out of my bed in total shock, wondering where it was coming from. I went to the door to my bedroom to look more around the house, but I noticed when I got to my door the music was disappearing. Somehow I knew it wasn't meant to be found, but just to sit down and enjoy it while it lasts. I went back to my bed, and I cannot emphasize enough how beautiful it sounded and felt. It made me sob tears of joy. I just remember feeling so grateful and hoping I can hear something like that ASAP again. I have not heard it since. I've looked it up online and found other people who have had the same exact experience, and they also knew they were meant to just sit down and enjoy it. It honestly didn't even cross my mind for a second to go on my phone and press record, but I wonder if I did, if it would have just stopped. I found a YouTube video that I listen to every now and then to almost try and reenact what I heard, but even then it really doesn't compare, but this is all I got to give you a little idea of what it sounded like.
It is amazing, isn't? So let's count new.
I had this experience happen to me too, on July 26th this year. Only, it happened as I was resting in the early afternoon due to a night out at a concert drinking with my colleagues, and it came out of nowhere. Like the low hum pitch in my ear cranked itself up to 1,000, exploding into some kind of mystical, musical, powerful, angelic sounding choir. Never heard or felt anything like it before either. It was the most beautiful sound/choir like music I've heard in my life, and I could feel it with my entire body. Incredibly awe-inducing experience that left me absolutely mind blown. I've researched it as well, and only a few seem to have experienced it and shared it, so I've yet to understand what exactly the experience was, or why it happens, or what causes it to happen. There's not much info on it, unfortunately. Many of those who have shared it has interestingly not been religious either. Everyone who has experienced it seems to have more questions than answers. I too tried to find music sounding like it on YouTube, but nothing really came close and seemed and felt like a cheap imitation. Also, trying Googling the phenomenon was ridiculously difficult because I would just find links to Christian worship music or other type of human choir music, which wasn't what I was looking for at all. Even Christians seem unfamiliar or oblivious of this mystical phenomena. So it doesn't seem like it is necessarily a religious experience either. I was not religious either, and still am not, but some describe it as a mystical experience of sorts. It wouldn't surprise me if this experience has influenced and inspired choir music throughout time. People probably came up with these human imitation choir ideas from this kind of experience, and then assigned religious meaning to it, like saying it was angels, because that's the only way they could describe something that is so otherworldly and paranormal. Though, as a non-religious person, I would rather describe it as a frequency and flowing current of sound, rather than actual beings singing. Like the sound of the cosmos, if you will, forming what to us sounds like a choir or song that we normally can't hear, due to not being tuned into it. And it didn't feel like a religious experience. More so mystical, unexplainable, though I'm trying to explain it. I guess this is why the mystics said mystical experiences have to be experienced and couldn't be fully explained or understood intellectually. Though I would have liked to know why it happened and what this kind of sound, frequency, music, choir thing was that I felt and heard. Like, what was its purpose? Why did I experience it as I was about to take a random Saturday afternoon nap? Who has knowledge on these kinds of experiences? So many questions.
Maybe bro is lying. What do you think? Whatever. Go on. One night, I was driving to see my lover at the time.
I was in a really weird place emotionally and battling a lot of things internally, not sure how relevant that is on the whole, but it was what it was. I was blaring music and it was raining while I was driving down a country road, and I realized I was about to miss my turn, so I took it way too fast and sharp and hydroplaned into the drainage ditch, missing a big stop sign by a couple feet. My car is sitting in 3 feet of water on the driver's side, so I crawl out my passenger side. There's a light at the house on the hill whose guy's ditch I'm in, so I figure I better go and tell him I'm in his ditch and AAA is coming to tow me out. He was nice and walks out with me, and while we're standing in his yard, he asks me, "Are you alone? It looks like someone's in your car." And I'm weirded out because I'm a girl alone on a country highway, and tell him, "No, but people are on their way, blah blah blah." He shrugs it off and goes inside. I'm standing up on the side of the road while I wait because there's water in my car now. Someone rolls up and opens their window and asks if I'm alright, etc., and then again from a completely different angle they ask me if someone's in my car. I explained again that people were on their way, but no, it was just me. They go on their way. Weird, but okay. I go in and check behind me to see if there's shadows or something dancing in such a way that is making it look like a man, and see nothing. And I wouldn't even think much about it anymore, but another person drives up and asks me the same thing, and when I told him no, he was like, "Are you sure?" Face with raised eyebrow, I said back to him, "Why does everyone keep saying that? No, AAA is on the way. I'm alone and I'm fine." I was starting to get annoyed, and in all the stress, it wasn't registering how bizarre it was that 3 separate people and at 3 different vantage points, they were seeing a man in my car while I saw nothing. I like to think it was my guardian angel or my grandfather, but I can't explain it.
My parents moved into a new home when I was starting college.
The house was brand new, never lived in before us. For some reason, I was never comfortable in my room. I liken it to being able to hear someone walking on carpet when your eyes are closed. A few months later, I came down with chickenpox. Our cat was sleeping with me, which only happened when I was sick. In the middle of the night, she suddenly sat up and stared at the opposite corner of my room at the ceiling. She stared intently for what felt like an eternity. Later on, almost every night when I went to bed, I would feel the bottom of my bed sink down like someone sat on it. Then I would feel what felt like someone's hand running along my ankle/lower leg. I never got the nerve up to open my eyes. This continued when I was home for college and after I moved back home for years. I guess it never felt threatening, but if given the option to sleep in my sister's room or my parents' room when they were on vacation, I took it. I never felt the same thing in those rooms. I tried to rationalize it as my sheets settling, but I never experienced it again after I moved out of that house.
When I was younger, I used to be very sensitive to the paranormal.
When I was younger, I used to be very sensitive to the paranormal. I put sheets over my bedroom windows because I always felt like someone was watching me. I would see people/apparitions in the corner of my eye. My mom believed me, but my dad and brother would make fun of me. My parents signed me up in a mentorship program, and my mentor happened to be someone very spiritual. I told her about these feelings I had, and she believed me. She knew I was still a little unsure of what to make of those feelings, so one day she took me to the theater in our city. She used to work there and said that the second stage upstairs was haunted. To put it in perspective, when you walk in the door to the upstairs theater, the side of the stage is right in front of you and the seats are to your right. She closes the door behind us so we're in the dark and sits on the side of the stage facing the seats. I'm standing facing her and get this strong feeling I'm being watched, but I was too scared to turn around. Eventually I turn and look to find an entire audience staring back at me. There was one man in particular that stood out to me. He was wearing an orange button-down t-shirt and a baseball cap. I told my mom about it when I get home, and she told me to wait a minute so she could grab something. She comes back with a photo of her recently deceased brother-in-law, who I didn't know/lived across the country. He had a lucky orange shirt he always wore with a blue baseball cap. Jaw on the floor, LOL. I have so many other stories, but that picture of the full audience looking at me immediately comes to mind when anything paranormal is mentioned.
That's it on today. Subscribe and write down your stories. Bye.